East Africa is facing its worst locust outbreak in 70 years, with Kenya hit particularly hard. Billions of locusts are swarming across the continent, and the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization is appealing for $76 million to control the problem. Kenya's Ministry of Agriculture has mobilised 5 planes to spray chemicals in one county in northern Kenya, but more swarms are appearing every week. The outbreak is also affecting parts of Ethiopia and Somalia. There are fears it could get worse in the coming weeks, with forecasts of fresh rain.
Well, it's a swarm of enormous proportions. Desert locusts are eating their way across large parts of East Africa, and it's the worst outbreak some countries there have seen in 70 years. Now, here are some of the countries that are most affected by those locusts. Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya are the worst affected, and Uganda is bracing for an invasion too. Authorities have advised citizens to stock up on food as the insects approach the border with Kenya. Now, researchers say they pose an unprecedented threat to food security in some of the world's most vulnerable countries.
They eat and destroy everything on their way. One swarm measured 60 kilometers long and 40 kilometers wide. Hundreds of thousands of acres of crops destroyed. People fight back with whatever means they have.
We are more than 200 herders here, and we all depend on this land for grazing. Now it will be disastrous if we all perish without getting any help.
The swarms came from Yemen, then down from the Red Sea to the Horn of Africa. The unusual warm temperatures off the coast are partly to blame. The recent heavy rainfall has created the perfect breeding conditions. The greenery that has sprung up is now fueling them. It has almost become a desperate battle.
And it is practically impossible or mockery to intelligence of humankind that this one can be used to control swarms of billions of insects that are destroying our crops and our pasture.
Agriculture is big business in the region. Here, the Kenyan national government is now increasing their efforts and spraying from the air. The swarms are spreading fast, up to 150 kilometers a day. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization is raising the alarm, now calling for international assistance.
It's the worst that we've seen in Ethiopia, in Somalia in 25 years, and the worst that we've seen in Kenya in over 70 years.
The fear is that the locust numbers could increase 500 times in the next few months.
Kenya has been hit by its worst locust outbreak in 70 years, and its farmers have a lot to worry about. Our next report gets you more details.
It's all doom and gloom in the fields of Kenya as Africa battles its worst locust plague in almost a century. The United Nations has sounded an alarm as swarms continue to consume crops in 5 countries, out of which Kenya is the worst affected. And the bad news is there's no sign of containing the locust outbreak in near sight.
They are destroying the environment because some of these swarms are very big, billions of them. So within 6 hours and 8 hours, they suppress and they deplete all the pastures, and that is a very sad situation.
The time-tested traditional method of repelling locusts from crops in East Africa is to bang on a metal bucket and whistle loudly. But more drastic measures need to be taken. Kenya's Ministry of Agriculture has in fact taken note of the grave situation. 5 planes have been mobilized to spray chemicals in northern Kenya. But despite successes in pushing back around 5 swarms, more swarms are appearing every week.
We've got 5 aeroplanes in servicing this area, And those 5 aeroplanes are quite capable of looking after here. But if we get an increase anywhere else, which I gather from reports this morning that we've got expanding swarms and going as far as Baringo and other parts, touching on the other parts of the country. And if we have that, then the government's going to need some more help. We're going to need some more assistance, because we just don't know how big this problem is going to be, and we just can't quantify that.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has appealed for $76 million to control the problem. Along with Kenya, the locust outbreak has affected parts of Ethiopia and Somalia, which could get worse in the coming weeks. Bureau Report. We on World is One.
Dinner. If you haven't, how would you like your locust served? Apparently, residents of Kuwait City like theirs boiled, baked or fried. Kuwait has been serving up a swarm for ages, but while locusts, a surprisingly nutritious edible insect, are considered a delicacy by some in Kuwait, others are repulsed by the crunchy culinary offering. Meanwhile, Somalia has declared a national emergency as large swarms of locusts spread across East Africa. The country says the insects posed a major threat to their fragile food security situation.
In parts of Kenya, the locusts are wreaking havoc on farms and destroying livelihoods. But in Kuwait, these swarms of locusts could be manna from above. Here, the insects are a rare delicacy. The locals trap them and package them into neat bags for sale.
We received around 10 to 20 bags. Each bag contains 30 to 40 small bags that contain between 20 to 24 locusts. We sell it at 2 or 3 Kuwaiti dinar.
The locusts are prepared in a variety of ways. While some like them boiled, others fry them, while others like their delicacies baked. But whichever way they are cooked, those who partake of this food attest to its many benefits.
It tastes good. There are those who eat it with sauce. Some prefer it fried with onions, others grill it.
The medicine comes from locusts because it feeds on useful herbs such as cress and fenugreek, as well as other useful foods such as vegetables.
The taste and medicinal value notwithstanding, there are fears that the allure of the locusts as food is waning.
A few eat it now, not like before. Previously, the whole family would eat locusts. I remember when I ate it for the first time. I was 3 or 4 years old. We are used to it. We remember it and we know how it tastes. But our children today reject it and say it is an insect.
Somalia has declared a national emergency following a massive locust infestation in most parts of the country, the worst to hit the Horn of African nation in quarter a century. Experts say a large swarm of desert locust has in recent months consumed huge amounts of crops, placing people and livestock at great risk. Mogadishu says it is not prepared to handle the locust invasion that is expected to worsen, especially during the upcoming harvest season.
The locust invasion hit us by surprise. For close to 3 decades, Somalia never saw such an infestation. The government does not have the capacity to contain the invasion. Most of our locust control centers were destroyed during the war. The latest invasion is worrying because we fear it might return during the harvest season.
Speaking in Mogadishu during a launch of a food security and nutrition analysis unit in Somalia, experts say that millions of dollars is needed to tackle the infestation in East Africa.
The appeal that FAO has launched globally, but for the 3 countries that for now have witnessed locust infestation, which are Somalia, Kenya and Ethiopia, is up to $76 million US dollar. This figure is likely to increase as the movement of the locust and the projections evolve rapidly.
Recent estimates put the number of humanitarian cases to 4.1 million people, with quarter the number in dire need of urgent humanitarian assistance. Locust invasion has affected farmers in central Somalia and pastoralists towards the north. The government and its donors are now concerned of a new invasion in the coming weeks.
The infestation is widespread and it could cause significant damage potentially for the coming GU harvest, also the pasture in pastoral areas, as well as the dairy season towards the end of the year. So it is a significant risk that needs to be addressed through a continued close monitoring of the situation, as well as urgent scaling up of control measures.
Authorities say the desert locusts originating from the Red Sea flocked into East Africa after ideal conditions were created following a recent successful rainy season in all three countries.
Analysts have expressed concerns about the government's ability to tackle the locust menace. Meanwhile, the infestation is expected to hit the country again in April as farmers prepare to harvest their crops. Abdul Aziz Bilo, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.